All right, so this is my haunted house. This is the GameMasters Guild first annual. Now that it was actually, everything seemed to work just fine, and I consider it a success. This is, okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, this is the GameMasters Guild first annual haunted house. Now, initially, I didn't even want to call it the first annual haunted house because I wasn't sure how it was going to work out. And it was a big success, and it wouldn't have been even half as good if it wasn't for all my actors. And so my hat's off to them because they did a really great job, and they really took everything and kind of made it their own, and just really made the haunt something extra special. And I really super appreciate it. It's something I've always wanted to do, and I finally got to tick that off and off my to-do list. And now, well, I'm going to be planning more for next year, and I'd like to do something even more frequently. But right now, I'm trying not to get too ahead of myself because I'm really excited about it. But what I'm going to do right now is I want to show you all about my haunted house and just kind of show you some behind the scenes of how it was. And so far, it's the day after. It's Wednesday. It's the November 1st. And it's right before I'm getting ready to tear everything down and pack it all up. What's really cool is if you come in any normal day, you wouldn't know where I store all this stuff. Well, man, I have got tubs on furniture dollies that I stack 6-7 feet high, rolled away in small corners, and all my walls break apart. They're all the same. They're 4x8. Some are built out of 2x4s, some are built out of 2x2s, and they're all tucked neatly behind the rest of my scenery in the player's dungeon. So I'm going to kind of switch the camera around right now so you kind of see the initial foyer when people come in. And I'm going to do this just like this. Okay, so people come in the door right here. They initially come in the door right there. This is where I greet them. And here I've got a small cage. Normally that chair and candy is not there. Actually, I'm going to, yeah. And so here I've got a skeleton right here. A little cage right there. I got a lamp. It's got some blue lights that would kind of shine in the area. So this whole area right here, again, is my initial entryway. So, my wife would get their payment, they'd come in, and she'd close the door, and I'd tell them to stop. I'd get them to stop. I'd back up a little bit, let them come in, but then I'd tell them to stop, let the whole group kind of gather, because sometimes I had 1 or 2, or sometimes it'd be 5 or 6. I'd make sure they all get in this little foyer, and I'd tell them to stay right where they were at, because I wanted their eyes to adjust to the dark, which gave me time to move from here to back up to my spot so I could sit down at the head of my table. Let me turn this around. Move this back a little further. All right, so I tell them to stop, and I have them go ahead and come move forward. Well, actually, I tell them to stop first. Let their eyes get adjusted to the dark so they can see where they're going so they don't trip, but also so they can see what's eating them. And then I'll have a seat here. I'll say something else maybe. And then I'll go and say, oh, that should be good. Go ahead, come on in. And I started doing this because I noticed people would come in and they've already got momentum from coming in the door, so they just keep going. So by the time I got to back up and sit down, they're practically on top of me leaving again. They hardly get to see the scene, much less give me a chance to surprise them with anything. Let me turn this camera just a little more right here. There we go. So I get them to stop. And what's curious, well, first of all, I noticed that when we started, it was daylight. And when they come in, even me, I couldn't hardly see anything because my eyes would have to get adjusted to the dark after just a moment or two. I know it takes a little bit longer than that, but it's just enough, just that few moments kind of helps a little bit so you can see all the light and everything. But again, they would breeze by really fast, but by getting them to stop, once I said, go ahead and come on, they would kind of be almost a little more reluctant, and they'd start moving a little slower because now they're waiting for something. But that also gave me time to come here, sit down, and I'd say, go ahead, come on in. Come enjoy our haunted house. And give me time to put my hand right here, which is it's it's just a little black mask. It's just something nondescript on the table, but they don't know what it is. My hand's just sitting here. Really, it's a try me button for her right there. And I wait for them to either get right even with it, or if it's a larger group, as they come, I hit the button, kind of scare the people at the end. These candles are all lit and everything. Let's see where the camera's at now. All right. So then they come down this way. They're getting past me. After I scare them, they're going to come up around this corner right here. Now, I've got a couple of things right here. I've got this scare window right here, and I've also got Bartholomew. You'll see Bartholomew in a minute. Also, this face hanging here, this face, when I hit the button, it actually triggers a ghost. A little further back and up high in the haunt, which I'll show you in a little bit. Let me show you this window. So, as people would come, you can kind of see through this window, crack of this window, and whenever you're ready, someone just open it up, and come right out, and scare them just like that. Now, I wanted to build drop panels originally, but every day kind of a struggle because I'm running the shop, I'm trying to get the magic shop going. Some days I just don't feel like doing anything. We're busy with tournaments and stuff. I'm tired at the end of the day, or first thing in the morning, I got other stuff I got to do. So it's a lot of work to do, and I've been doing this all part-time. And it's hard because I've had some people help me with the construction, but most of the time it's usually just been me because either I got to come in early and other people are at work or don't have time, and then or I got to do it in the evening, again, when people can't come because they're sleeping or doing family stuff. And I mean in the evening, I mean like after 9 o'clock at night. So it's pretty late, you know, and me being here early between noon and 3, that's kind of hard because people are doing things during the day, like, I don't know, work maybe. But so other people got things to do, so it's really kind of hard to coordinate. But I was able to coordinate with some folks and get them to help me out with some of this. And I really appreciate all the help. But I want to do a drop panel so it just drops because it makes noise too. But this is okay. I literally just bought this frame. I cut out the center, and well, actually I just dislodged it. I took out all the nails that hold the staples that hold them in place. And I just literally use the duct tape hinge. And it works. Okay. So they come down this way. And don't forget this face right here, because that's going to be something. Here we go. Okay, so they're walking down this way. Now, as they come, there's this clock right here. They see this skeleton in the corner, or this chair, and actually, this is slightly dislodged. We were goofing off last night after close. All right, so he'd be here. Now, he wasn't always here. For the first couple nights of the haunt, I had moved him, and I actually would have an actor sit here, and sometimes they would actually duck around this corner, which we'll get to in just a second. So I have a scare box here. As they walk by, this PIR sensor kicks off, and this makes a sound. And we'll see if it'll come on here in just a second. And I've got these staged all through the haunt, programmed with different sounds, so that way, if I didn't have actors in a spot, I still had things happening. And if any one sensor were to fail, like run out of power, which these are pretty resilient power-wise, these batteries do really good. These things are going off all the time because we're constant back and forth in the haunt talking. We got started to zone this stuff out after a while. And 3 days straight, these things have been working solid, probably about 8 hours a stretch. And very low power draw, very nice. They work really good. Go a quick shout out to Haunt Hobbyist. Thank you very much for these. These are awesome. That's who I got them from. And there's a couple different ones. There's some push button ones that activate when you push the button. There's ones when they detect, they fire strobe off. It's really cool stuff. But I got these scattered all through the haunt. I don't even have all of them set up. But it's really nice because if an actor's not there, at least there's something that's still interacting with the customer, with the visitor. Now over here, I have my light, which I didn't have lit up, my street light. Got this at Cracker Barrel a couple years ago. But it's okay. I'm going to rework it with a better light. It's got a red light, and it comes on, and it's just okay. I'm going to rework it to have a more of a lamp kind of style light. Now I had a fan back here, or I got a fan where I would turn it on, and I got these tower fans scattered all through the haunt. I normally have them anyways in the shop, just for circulation, especially on warmer days. But I positioned all these fans to give everything a sense of motion. Again, I'm really big on that because I don't want just things to look like you're just walking through just a static display, just a stage. You know, I want things to be happening, even if actors aren't present, you know, just so there's something. And I really like it. It gives a good effect, especially with the lights down, because you see all that motion, like, what's going on? What's happening? And I really like that. So this is Bartholomew. I'd like to thank Sydney for naming him, Bartholomew. We're sitting there, I had just got him built, and someone says, hey, Sydney's got a name for him. You should call him Bartholomew. And Sydney's like, yeah. And I said, okay. So I named him Bartholomew. He was born in September on, I believe, the 20th, I think. Let me check. I got a born on date. 9/22/23 is when he was born. So I always saw like a Trans World, the big haunt convention. They always have these cool actomatronics where they're hung up and the actors activate them and they got sounds and they're big and they're awesome looking. And I thought, wow, that'd probably be cheaper than some of those super awesome pneumatic props that they got. And they're like $6,500. I'm like, oh my God, they're expensive. And I would love to throw that kind of money at something, but when you're doing a first year haunt and you're kind of, you know, and I got a little bit extra cash here and there to spend, especially when it's your hobby. That's where your fun money goes. So this is my hobby, one of my many hobbies, but also too, that's a lot of money for one thing. And plus, what if it gets ruined or gets damaged, you know, or the latex gets all messed up? I mean, there's all sorts of possibilities. I know that stuff's pretty stout. It's good construction, but I thought I'm going to try and make something on my own. And now, while during the day, you know, he might not look like anything crazy, but check him out. He is literally just a board with some pipe noodles. I've got one of those sound boxes here, and you probably can't see, but I got a sound box has a cord that runs to the back, and he makes a sound. And I've got a single piece of chain hanging right here, and he's hooked to my archway. What's nice is he's super light. I could detach him and take him anywhere. And the only reason he's hanging at this particular angle is because I've got a weight with a string tied to it that's kind of holding him in position. So if no one's here, as they walk by, the fan kind of blows him and he slightly moves, so it gives a sense of that something's actually there. Now, in terms of actual working, this is what would happen if you had an actor here. So that's Bartholomew. He's one of the, I think he's probably one of the second really big things I did, just because I wanted something super cool and I want something dynamic. And I thought that was cool and it was neat. Even if you saw an actor back here, it's almost like the actor would almost be like a guard or a monster keeper or whatever. So it's not a big deal. So it kind of fits. He's really neat. I didn't have any eyes or anything. Didn't feel like I need to. He's kind of a Wendigo kind of creature thing. And when you look at him in the day, he's just kind of some fur draped over him from another cosplay project. I stuck some bones on him, these antlers, and binder clips, duct tape. I used some construction paper in the mouth. This mouth, if you put it like this and turn it the other way around and flip it, it's actually supposed to be a candy dish. I used some springs and some hinges. Man, it's beautiful. Is it equal to a $6,500 high-end Halloween animatronic? No. Did I spend less than $100 on it? Hell yeah, I spent less than $100. I'm super proud. It works for a haunted house. You don't expect it. It's big, it's weird, it's misshapen. It's not an actor coming at you, it's a thing. And it's different, and so it makes a big difference, I think. So that's Bartholomew. I'm going to stop carrying on about him, but I'm really proud of him. He's really awesome. So now we're going to go turn around the corner here. There's my clock. All right. Now, right here in this corner, we've got this chair. So somebody could sit here, they could be scary and follow it, people stalk them. But also, too, as people would come through, this actor, once they've done their thing, could come over here and duck in here and hide for the next group and jump out if they wanted to. And I had some people, especially on the last night, like Terry, he would stay here, and Terry would just be here all night, and as people would come out, he'd be like, "Oh, master, I gotta have the small one, please. He's so delicious." And it's perfect. It's perfect. And then I had another actor over here, Wayne, and he would be doing his necromancer, evil sorcerer thing over here on this table, and they would just play off each other. And then when he's done here and people are going around the corner, this actually goes to the other side of the wall of the haunt where he could get people again. So this is perfect. You can get 1, 2, 3 different things going on in this section alone. Now this coming up here. Oh, and that right there, those candles, I bought those at Cracker Barrel years ago, and I got some batteries and they just kind of light up. So here, everybody calls this the flesh wall. I call it my skele wall, but everybody calls it the flesh wall. And I got the skeleton in there. And let me see, I don't know if you can see it. It got some lights on, so it kind of looks like, I don't know, like smoldering coals, but built into a wall. It looks really good in the dark. Plus, I got another one of these scare boxes. People come by, these things have a nice wide field of sensing people. I mean, the clock would be going off, and he would program to say it. He'd just kind of, ha 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 ha. He just had this kind of laugh, this kind of subdued laughter, at kind of mocking people as they would come through. Now, you can take a little piece of PVC, which usually comes with these things, to kind of block off the sensor, so they have to really be in a certain spot to be detected for it to go off. But for this haunt, purposes of this haunt, I just wanted to see how it worked. It worked great, and true, they were going off all the time, but also too, I wanted them to more likely to activate than not. So that's why I didn't put the restrictive sensor. That's why I didn't restrict the sensor's capability. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm really excited about this. All right, so we're done with that. Let's move on. Let me turn this off. A lot of stuff in the haunt is battery powered. Maybe not necessarily the best choice because you're buying a lot of batteries, but certain things run for quite a while. Let me turn these lights off again. But the stuff that does run for a long time, it's worth it. It's totally worth it because I don't have cords running everywhere, not a trip hazard, not an electrocution hazard. Not that that's something I would normally be concerned about because I'm very safe, but at the same time, it's nice to know that if this fails, the worst thing that's going to happen is it's just the batteries are just going to die. Someone's not going to trip over the cord, it's not going to come unplugged, got to find it in the dark. And worst case scenario, if I have to, I just take this off. It's just duct taped in space into position. I just go swap out batteries between groups and put it back up, which I never had to do. These batteries, who knows how long they'll run. Okay, so above Bartholomew, I want to show you something. So I had some of this decoration above. So I had this whole thing lit up right here. I got green Christmas lights right here, or Halloween lights right here. I've got red up around the dragon's mouth and inside his chest. And this is the ghost I put up high. Some people didn't see him, which I'm kind of surprised, but at the same time, I'm kind of surprised that some people didn't see him, but I'm also kind of surprised. I'm not surprised that people didn't see him because he is up high and there's a bunch of sounds and people are looking more forward. So I need a way to get people's attention up to him more. But when I hit this button over here, that's that mask I told you about earlier, hanging by my spot when I first come in and greet everybody. It activates this. And there's all my extra lights right there. It runs for about 40 seconds. Well, while that finishes, let me turn the camera around and we'll get to another spot. It's pretty good. All right. So we're coming around. All right. So we're coming around the corner. I have, man, we're not very far in and we're already 20 minutes in this video. So I've got a mirror here, so any light might get played off of this. It might draw people's attention. People might see it and think someone's moving right there, which there isn't. It's just the reflection. This is where Wayne would have his area, his necromancer area. And I've got all sorts of props and stuff. And he'd usually be asking them for, what their name is. He'd get them to stop right here and kind of set up the person that was in the scare area, typically Michelle. And Wayne would ask for names and, if they're going to be part of his experiment, stuff like that. I got a light back here that was normally on. I got the skeleton, all these other props here. I got another fan in the corner to help keep him cool and just generally help keep the customers cool as well, and just keep that cool airflow to make things blow about. So then right here I have this 8-foot skeleton on a furniture dolly, and I've got one of those sound boxes hooked up to him. On Hobbyist, if you want to check them out, hit the button. There's a slight pause, and then he makes the creepy sound. And what's nice is you can chase him all through the haunt with it. And what's nice, I can store him anywhere in the haunt. I can give him through any door. The only downside is I have to tilt back slightly because he's too high for the doors. But that's not a problem. And this is the little hidey hole back here where he resides. So the person who's doing the scare portrait, popping out the portrait on the other side, gets to push him out as well. And Michelle, instead of using the button on him, she'd usually use her own voice to project and scare people using him as well. So that was pretty cool too. Everybody making it their own. Now I'm going to show you behind here. I'm real proud of this next thing because I'm real proud of everybody who came and helped me with the haunt and acted in it. This is the back side of the flesh wall, or again, as I call it, the skeleton wall. But again, this skeleton wall, this is the first thing that I really built. I built this small DIY burning coals thing in like a dollar store half barrel, which I'll show you at the end of the haunt. But then I made this big one because I really wanted to. This is like the first big cool effect thing I did. And the best little kid in a haunted house. That's great. But I have everybody, all my actors signed this. Everybody who helped, and even like people who actually weren't in the haunt, like all my employees. But still, they did help with the haunt because, they were the other side of the coin because we had the store open the entire time, so they had to manage all the customers. While I'm back here doing this, running this, my wife's out front doing that, and so everybody's, spread out doing everything else. And I know they worked some extra hours, and I really appreciate it. But this is my wall where everybody got the sign, and this is just good fond memories. I always have this forever and ever and ever. Even when I get rid of even if one day I get rid of the store, I'm keeping this because that's cool. I'll put it up in my room or something. All right, let's move on. And that's, oh yeah, good. Make sure I signed it. All right, moving on. All right, coming around the corner. So, coming around the corner from right here, you can see I've got one of my dungeons right there is set up for a scary scene for people to pop out. And here, I've got a little dead space for someone to stand and scare people, but I wasn't too comfortable having people stand there just because I was worried about people having fight or flight responses, so I didn't want anybody to get accidentally punched. These windows, I've actually got two. I've got one right here and one right there, but I'll show you what's special about them in just a second. So you come around the corner, there's this room, and it's just got a body, and like when James was here, he just set it up the scene extra with some stuff he brought. It just gives a spot for an actor to be and be creepy, or just generally, it looks creepy when people are walking by if no one's there. Now I got this scene right here. This is my Pumpkin Lord. I took down his hood. I took off some neon green creepy cloth off a clown I had, which I didn't do clowns this year, not at all. Well, at the last minute, I think James, like the last half of the evening on Halloween itself, we had a single clown hanging up, but generally no clowns as a big active scare. But anyways, I put some of this ivy on him, I put this creepy cloth on him, and I pulled his hood down because I thought it looked better with the hood down than up. All these were lit up. If you hit the button, he turns and he says stuff. Plus, I also had a thing where if you're sitting here especially in the dark with a no-see-em hood and all dressed in black, which is a big thing, be dressed in black for Halloween. I had this hand here, you could reach out, and also you could add a handle on the back of this pumpkin so you could come out and just kind of lurch at them. Now, at first you think, well, this seems kind of cheesy, and it is cheesy, but it's slow tech, but also, too, you got to remember, they're in the dark. And there's plenty of times where I have literally been right there, and I can't see my scare actor here. So it's pretty impressive, I think. And so you imagine in the dark, and you're already kind of wound up. This coming out at you can be very startling. I had a lightning projector right here, which made lightning sounds and threw some lightning up here. This is my employee break room. So I had a fan going. I had plenty of water. We always had food every night in here for everybody. It was only pizza the first 2 nights, and last night we had Chick-fil-A there. And but it was some place for them to go and kind of wind down if they needed it. Of course, I had plenty of chairs in every spot so everybody could sit more often than stand if they had to. And if they had to go do whatever they needed to do, cool down, leave, man, they just did it, you know. Just because I wanted to make sure that they were taken care of, you know, they didn't get too hot or anything, or if they weren't feeling well, they could go. And I just want to make sure everybody was well taken care of, because it's easy to overdo it, especially in something like this. But anyways, let's move on. So we're going, I'm going to turn this around here. So I got the room. So I had all these lanterns that are hanging up. All those were lit up. Now right here, I've got these 2 windows. So as they come around the corner, I've got the scare box, which would go off, would set off a strobe internally. On the other side of this, it flashed green, and you'd see the green coming out of the windows on either side, in addition to making a creepy sound. Plus, you could lift up these panels on the inside. It's just like a kind of a, a translucent, semi-opaque kind of material. You can't really see in, can't really see out, but allows the light to pass through. And but you can just lift them up and do whatever you want. Reach out, plead for help, stuff like that. I also had some lighted candles in there to also help for some lighting effects. Okay, moving on. So this is this room, and a little tower fan in the back. Had a little light on it, light on the tower fan, so as it rotated, the light would just kind of cast back and forth on the wall, in addition to it just kind of blowing stuff. I even had a little golem standee down here just to have some kind of human looking face. If people look back down low, they could see it, maybe it would startle them. Right here I got this Christmas tree, and I put this little face down here, this little mask, and it scared a lot of people. There's a few people who told me later, like, man, that thing got me, because I thought it was somebody getting ready to jump out at me. Have my spider room right here. Got a spider hanging above, which you can pull and drop, but most people ended up using this spider on the ground to get people. One girl who was using this room, I think it's the first night, she got this one little girl who totally straight up told all my other scare actors that they weren't scary. She's seen Halloween movies, and she knew they were back there. They knew they were human, and super bold. We're like, oh, did she get here? And suddenly she's like, ah, I don't think I want to be here anymore. It was, I'm sorry, but it was the funniest moment, and we were kind of happy that one of our other actors managed to get her. So bad to say, scared a little girl, but it was hilarious, and they did all have a good time. My wife was talking to them later, and they had a really good time. And the girl was like, I think that was kind of, I don't know, that place was a little scarier than I thought. It was great. And that was Lex who did that, so kudos to her for doing that. I've got, of course, another scare box right here, which goes off. It said, beware, beware, and the light would flash through here. I threw one of these reflective masks on to catch the light, and as the tower fan goes back and forth, it'd blow everything again, kind of give that subtle, sense of motion, and plus kind of cool you off a little bit, kind of make you feel like you're not really inside, it's not stuffy. And reflective mask, just kind of that motion, just like is someone standing there or not, at first glance, you might not be sure. Okay, so moving on. Coming around here, that we can see in the spider room. So, here's my big spider on the ground. He's pretty big. He's pretty awesome. And then this is just my general scene right here. I've got, trying to fix my microphone. Okay, so here, spider down here, all my bones, skeleton. I did just some quick spider webbing. I got a fan in the corner which would blow all the webbing. I had this lamp was too bright to light the scene, so I've got this strobe light, which I'm not a super fan of strobes, but I like this because it can be a strobe if I want to, but if I turn it up high enough, it's just a light. So it would give me just enough light to project on this area. I hung some cheesecloth just for something to look like webbing without actually stringing webbing. And then I put some actual spider webbing on the back. And I had a projector in this corner on the chair projecting spiders just kind of coming down. I also got a mummy in the corner, which Jessica Stonehouse made for me. I'm super excited. It looks really good. I love it, and that's something that's there all the time. Okay, coming back around this way. Let's move this slightly differently. Okay, that's pretty good. Okay. Let's get this chip more. All right, so here's the tree. People are coming around the corner. And now, what I've got is, I've got a chair here for a scare actor to sit. You know, either be creepy, do whatever, or, man, just the rest. But also, if you notice, this is that thin connecting corridor between the middle half of the haunt, and the first half of the haunt. People could just come right out here. Super great position to be in. It can be tight for some people, but it's nice because it's narrow enough. It doesn't look like that you, as a haunt participant, aren't going to pass through it, but the haunt scare actors most definitely can. Coming down this way, I've got these strings. This is an old low-tech trick right here. There's all sorts of different things you can do, but these strings, some people wouldn't even feel them. And some people, like, got a gentleman, one of my friends, he came through, and he has a wide brim hat, so it just went right over him, and his wife didn't even feel him either. But these were super cool, super easy, because people would feel them, and it would freak them out. I heard a few people say, oh, there was stuff all over me at some point, and that's these strings. But other people might kind of pass right through and not even notice, especially if they kind of maybe get, just for a moment, wound on each other or something, or people are going through and they run into them but don't realize it's there. But it worked. It worked. That's the thing is, I was trying to do, well, also too, I'm trying to do inexpensive at the same time, because when it's dark and the lights are off, this is almost as good as a scare actor. A lot of this stuff is almost as good as a scare actor. It's really nice to have people who can come and help you out with your haunt, because having a live person do something, hands down, best thing ever you can have in a haunt. But let's keep moving. So I've got, so I also, this is a craptastic version of something else I wanted to do. I wanted to do a big window with roaches in it, 2 pieces of plexi with roaches all inside, and with like a strobe would come on and you would see them. I just ran out of time. So I put them on some threads, hoping the fan behind us with the devil mask would kind of blow them a little bit, or at least people would see it and be like, ugh. And of course I hung all this vine here, so that way it would kind of blow with the fan behind you and kind of give you that creepy sensation, that there's this extra movement, I guess, that the whole place is kind of alive. I have another screen box here. This would play creepy music. Oh, at the very beginning, I had another bit of creepy music that people would come in and would just play this kind of horror music as they came in. Nothing, I didn't do anything like Friday 13th or Halloween, nothing like that. I didn't do any kind of mainstream stuff. It's just kind of like almost 70s or 80s kind of horror music, and it was pretty good. And same with this one too. Let me turn this on and we can hear it real quick. It takes just a moment for these to set up and go. It'll come on in just a second here. So they're walking around, they get scared by people, they come by, this creepy music comes on. Is it the best? No, but it's creepy music in a haunted house. Can't argue with it. All right, up here, that's my ghost lady that goes back and forth. She has a tombstone that she's actually supposed to float behind, but I took it and I put it down the corner over here. But I really like it. She's really awesome. I just don't think enough people got a chance to see her, so I'm going to have to reposition her next year. Plus, what's really cool is I can actually use her form for something, and I can actually use the device itself. I could switch her out for another creature or entity of my choosing. All right, so I got a bunch of these. This is really cool. Jeremiah comes up here all the time. He provided me these CPR dummies and masks and stuff like that, and these things are great. It's so creepy looking. It's awesome. One of my buddies had one and was playing with it. We cut out the eyes, and he'd hold it up to his face and looked like he was peeling it off. It was pretty neat. All right. Oh, this TV. I had a friend of mine, Doug Hunter. He had a big digital eye on here. He gave me all these eye videos, and they're just like a giant eye, black screen, giant eye with like a blue or flaming red, all sorts of different types of these just big eyes. So the whole screen would be taken up by a big eye, and it's got some creepy sounds to it. And man, I just played that all night on continuous. It was really cool. It made it really neat in this corner. Kind of made you wonder what was going on. Oh, did I have a particular theme? No, not really. I know everybody says, well, you gotta have a theme, you gotta do this, you gotta do that. Well, yeah, theme is just kind of come in, walk around, get a little scared. And I had some people get pretty scared. It was pretty cool. I had some people like, it's just like, it was cool, and that was it. You know, hardly any reaction, but that's just how it is, you know. There's all sorts of people that come through a haunted house for many different reasons, and the thing is though that they wanted to come and they wanted to check it out and they enjoyed it in their own way, which I love, and we really enjoyed it, especially when they got really scared. All right, coming around the corner here. So I got a bunch of these electric candles. Got all these just basic tombstones, just kind of stuck them up real quick. There's a lot of stuff that you can see is clearly not painted. And this is the back side of my front wall, but you know, every haunted house I've seen, even with the lights on, it's never as impressive as it is with the lights off. Well, there's that giant tombstone I was telling you about. That's just styrofoam. I like that cool. That's a dollar store mask right there. Those creepy faces. This fence is just PVC. I ordered some finials from a place online, and I just had some PVC. I had an adapter. And I screwed the finial to the adapter, and I stuck it on the end of the PVC pipe. I cut all these holes, and then I sunk a hole in just a little bit further on the bottom, run it through, run a screw, done. Painted it black, and now you got 16 feet worth of cool looking fence. Shove some skulls on the end. I got all this ivy. It's pretty good stuff. I got this ghost down here. He actually activates by sound. But the more important thing is I put him down there just to be creepy, and incidentally, him and of course the floating ghost lady showed up, of course, Halloween day. Well, that's when I got them and I put them up. I just added a little something extra, but with the fan, got a fan in the corner that would just off there. That would blow, and it'd be just strong enough not to turn him around, but just enough to kind of waver his cloth around and just give that sense of motion. Extra creepy, extra creepy. All right, so coming around the corner down low, I have another scream box. This is the most annoying one. This one right here. This lady would come on and go, ah! Ah! Man, ear splitting. But it's exactly what I needed. See, a couple more creepy faces. Some cloth, a creepy shower curtain someone got me. I just threw up at the last second. Some duct tape. Some chains. Got this tree. Oh, I can't remember. Oh, in this tree on the other side, I can't remember if I said, I do have a sensor in this tree right here. See it right here? And when people would come by, of course, it'd trigger the sensor. I have a green strobe in here. It would flash and say, beware, beware. So you'd see it from that side. There are some lights in here, but I didn't use them this time. Okay, they're coming around the corner. Oh, this has a flicker bulb up here that Lowe's sold a couple years ago. It is a blue, kind of like blue electric light flicker bulb. So this room right here, I have, again, I bought another one of those ghosts you can see back there. Same thing, just so that way, you know, I had another spirit, another specter back here. And he does the same thing. He lights up, but most of the time nobody was close enough for it to happen. And I had a fan back here. I've got a fan back here that would kind of blow and circulate some air. So he'd get some motion, he'd get some motion, and he would turn on, and he's got red eyes that glow as well too. I was gonna move him because I really like him, but he's also really good in that spot, so I just left him. A bunch of bones scattered about, and then my door's off the hinges there. I've got some scattered equipment there. There's a bunch of stuff that's hidden against the walls that you can't see as you're passing through. I've got a light here that would give some creepy accent lighting, just like when you first come in. I've got another one of these things right here that would actually project into my area and give me some extra illumination, give the customer some way to see. And actually, that's the thing, is once you make your haunted house dark, I had to try to figure out a way to make it light again. First of all, make it safe enough for people to go through, make it safe enough for the scare actors and myself to go through. And also too, I want people to see the work I've done, you know, and I don't want them to barely see. I want people to get a good look at stuff, you know. And you know, I kind of struggled to get more lighting kind of back in the haunt where it looked not too revealing, dark enough to be creepy, but yet light enough to see. It's really kind of a weird balance. So some things you just have to just not worry about. Let's see, here I've got, backing up from this spot, I had just a creepy display. Right here, I had ordered some stuff offline. I've got a, whoops. I've got this right here, this just turns on. 4 different settings, and I can just drop that on there. I have a box right here. It makes them get more creepy sounds. And when it would flash, I've got a strobe right. When it would go off, the sound would go off. The strobe would flash. It would light up the skeleton. It's real thin plastic. I just dropped the strobe light right there. It'd reflect. Looked really, really good. This is one of those like Bucky. They call him the Bucky skeleton. From one of the medical supply places. It's like a factory second, but they're super good. But they're super heavy too. I've got like 5 of these things. I think they're great. But I do also like the really cheap and expensive skeletons, because for the price of him, I can get like 5 of him or 3 of him, something like that. Let's see, turning this around. Ooh, this area. So I had in this area. This is just while you're walking by. This is my emergency exit, not my true haunt exit. But I got some more CPR dummies, just something to kind of dress it up. But yet it's still open enough to, if you got an emergency, you can leave. And I would have somebody in this back area all the time, no matter how many people I had, so that way I could make sure people were going out the proper exit, and also make sure if there was an emergency, they could usher them out this exit. Plus, there's a light switch just on this wall, so they could literally go here, go like 20 steps, and hit the main light switch for the whole haunt, which I had 3 main light switches for the haunt. I'm very lucky with the setup. Nobody goes in here. It's my storage area. CPR dummies, just some creepy cloth to disguise a can crusher. Okay, and then coming this way, I've got a fan right here. This is one of my tower fans. Down low, the tower fan's sitting on a platform, and it's got a projector in there, which would actually cast kind of ghostly, Scooby-Doo looking spirit up here. Very creepy looking kind of ghost, kind of ethereal being. And then, of course, exit in glow-in-the-dark paint. And I imagine, or not glow-in-the-dark paint, glow-in-the-dark tape. And I had some arrows kind of indicating which way to go. And also I got this up there to tell people which way the exit is. And this door, let me go unlock it, and I'll show you my wind down area. Let me pause this real quick. Okay, so, and this door leads to my wind down area. Now what I like is that there's a light in here. It's still subdued, but there's nothing in here. This is just where people come in, they kind of take a break, and they kind of wind down from the haunt itself, and as they transition out to the main storefront. And like any good amusement, they get kicked out right into the gift shop. Actually, my wife's idea. I don't know why I didn't think of it. Just genius. So anyways, have a lot of blank wall over here. Let me move the thing here. So here, I have some blank wall, and happy accident, because when the main lights are out, but yet that small light is on. Oh, I guess you can't see it because I got the bright overheads lights on. Hang on just a second. Let me kill these bright overheads. I'll be right back, and then you can see what I got going on. And as you can probably see, the light from this bathroom, from the wind down room, actually casts shadows out into the haunt, onto the fence, cast light onto the fence, and put shadows onto the otherwise plain board. Now, you kind of think it's maybe kind of a buzzkill coming out. You're like, oh, they see the wind down area there. But they're still in the haunt. They know escape. It's just at hand. Their safety, their freedom is right over there on the other side of this fence. But they're not done yet. And that's when they come around. They've got the ghost. I still have the person in the last room. And the last person in the last room would usually have something like we had a whistle or a gong. And when they would do that, the rest of us could hear, so we knew that they were here and that they were out and done. And then let me move this into our area. This is the wind down area. Nothing crazy, just a little wind down area. They just kind of come in. We had candy first couple, I think it's first night, and maybe, yeah, first and second night. But then after that, we had to move it out front for Halloween, just because I didn't have enough manpower on Halloween itself. But it worked out just fine, because then they got their candy beforehand, before going into the haunt, versus at the end of the haunt. We got, let's see, about, on average, I think we ended up like with about 160 people. Like 60, we had some repeat people, so it was like 60, 47, 60, something like that. I can't remember, but it was like right about 160, 170 people come through, and that was with real minimal, hey, we're doing a haunted house, come check us out. Mostly just telling people on Facebook, telling locals. But next, and I didn't put any flyers out or really hardcore push or advertise to anybody, just because I was a little worried if something had failed, if something wasn't going to work. I didn't want to be kind of stuck with a huge line of people and just say, oh man, I'm really sorry, and have to do that all night for 3 nights. So it was a little easier just to kind of be low key and check out how my operations were going to run, how I was going to run things, how I was going to feel running everything, and how people were going to work within the haunt, and how I was going to manage them. Because like Monday night or Sunday night, I had a ton of people helping me, and I was like, oh man, I hope I can manage all these people. And you know, because their task is very different, very unique, and you got to try to manage that and be very clear about what their job is. But also, too, it's mostly about you can go this far and then that's it. No touch, no profanity. If you have any problems, let me know right away. And then giving people and filling in certain areas where you need help. Like, well, I really need you here. That'd be great if I could get you to do this. But you've also got some extra freedom to go back and forth between these rooms. Or, if you want to sit in this chair and then use the cut through. And, everybody worked out pretty well to kind of give everybody a chance to do their thing while still being able to do their own thing. And I really like that a lot. Some people pretty much stayed, like I stayed in the same, pretty much everybody stayed generally in their spot the whole time. But there were some people that moved, like I had a gentleman who moved from that room with the skeleton, my fantasy room, the room with the skeleton and the candles sticking up out of him and the floating candles with the golem standee. He'd go from there to back where my pumpkin lord was. He'd sneak up behind people. He'd go all zip back and forth through that too. And sometimes he'd just lurk through another part of the haunt. Sometimes he'd run over and run Bartholomew a couple times so I didn't have people. Same thing with the guy like running the center area. He would come out, he'd run Bartholomew for me a couple times, and then he'd go back and he'd do his thing in the middle. And I had two different guys who did that. And they would be creepy and follow people around. So there was a lot of people moving, doing a lot of different things, but still giving people a lot of space at the same time to do their thing. Another lady was in where the two windows were, and she'd come in and out of there. And that was kind of like her domain, and it worked out perfect just fine. Another gentleman, first two nights, man, he ran just the back end all by himself. But then when I got to the last night, I had, of course, a guy in the middle running around, coming towards the end, kind of making sure people were, getting moved like they need to be moved. And then I had another gentleman who would kind of finish them off and get them out. But when he left, when the guy at the very end left, the guy in the middle kind of took over and was easy to kind of, push them out, see where they were at, kind of keep them going, and give them like a final greeting as they exited. So a lot of people were doing a lot of stuff and just kind of auto-filled in certain areas. Because we want people to be satisfied, we want to have a lot of cool things for people to experience. And it worked out really, really well. I'm super excited. I think, of course, coming up next year, we're probably going to do some flyers, get some more advertising out way ahead of time, and we'll see what happens. My goal is to get bigger and move this whole operation to another building that's better suited to a larger haunt, multiple haunts. I've got a lot of different ideas inside my head, so it's kind of a springboard, really. Next year, it's going to be in GameMasters Guild again. I probably have to keep roughly the same floor pattern, but we'll see. There's some things that can definitely change. I've got some ideas of how I can change it up without really change. I want to change the floor pattern a little bit, but I'm kind of restricted about how the space is. But there's definitely some things we can do to where it's definitely going to be different than this year. Plus, also too, I'll have more people will be able to experience it, and they won't know it's coming. So I'm just really excited. Now the challenge is on me to prep and plan for next year. A lot of the hard work is done because I've got the walls, the floor plans, it's proven, it's sturdy, it's safe. The big thing now is trying to figure out what I'm going to do next year. How am I going to run it next time? So that's the interesting trick. So I've definitely got some ideas. Well, that is my walk through the haunt. I know it's an extra long video. I super appreciate you watching and sticking with me and letting me ramble. But it's really cool, something that I haven't done before ever. I take that back. Me and a friend of mine, James, we did do the Belladonna Day Spa haunt a long time ago, many, many years ago, before I even had the store. And, well, it was very lackluster. We were participating with another group. We were asked to help out, and we did. And, well, there was a lot of problems with that I solved here. And it pays to, if you want to get into the haunt industry, it pays to do some haunts, Even if you're just doing it in your front yard, in your garage, it pays. You learn a lot. And we did that one little haunt because they asked us to come help out and dress up some rooms, and we sure did. And it was a totally other experience. Maybe a video for another day. Probably not, though. It was a long time ago. But the big thing is, this haunt, super excited, a lot of neat stuff. I think a lot of people were surprised with how much I had, considering. I don't think they expected me to have what I had. So I guess that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed behind the scenes, especially if you got to come through the haunt and I get to see some lights on stuff. And maybe you had a chance to actually walk through lights on, which maybe that's something, you know, maybe I'll do next year. Maybe I'll have a day where you can just walk through and check out the haunt, you know, for free after all the events are done, just so you can kind of see behind the scenes of how everything is. Well, we'll see. Well, thank you very much for watching. I'm David Hunt, owner of GameMasters Guild, telling you to stay safe, play great games, and I'll see you real soon.